Of all of Chattanooga's public institutions, the public library perhaps worked hardest to serve both the white and Negro communities, and though they tried to serve all local citizens, administrators held firm to the 1896 legal doctrine, separate but equal. From the 1880s until just after the turn of the century, Chattanooga's only library was a private institution open only to citizens that paid a membership to borrow books. In the fall of 1900, Andrew Carnegie announced that he would donate $50,000 to Chattanooga to build a public library. At the time, Mr. Carnegie, a steel industrialist, was one of the wealthiest men in the world. He donated over $60 million to build 1,689 libraries across the country. Carnegie had a few requirements for the libraries. First, towns receiving funds must promise to set aside $5,000 a year for maintenance and care of the buildings, that the libraries must be free public libraries, and they must be open to all citizens. Local citizens were overjoyed that Chattanooga would receive the gift to build the city's first public library, but almost immediately concern was raised if Chattanooga would lose the money if the library was segregated. A December 17, 1900 Chattanooga Times article asked if some embarrassment might arise growing out of the race question. The article went on to note that Mr. Carnegie recognizes and fully appreciates the conditions existing in the South, and therefore will let the city decide how to handle the development of the library. Unlike some southern cities that lobbied Mr. Carnegie to keep their library completely segregated, Chattanooga officials chose to build on the separate but equal mentality. In describing the building plans, the Chattanooga Times reported on May 1, 1903, that the Negro Library is in the basement, with an entrance on Georgia Avenue. The arrangement on this floor is very similar to the one above, and a colored librarian will have full charge. The Chattanooga Public Library opened on July 17, 1905, with two distinct libraries. Today you can drive by the Carnegie Library building on the corner of 8th and Georgia Avenue and see the segregated entrance on Georgia Avenue and not even realize what this separate entrance represents. But were the libraries equal? Chattanooga's library grew through partnerships with the Chattanooga City Schools and Hamilton County Schools. The Chattanooga Public Library established a series of libraries in schools and developed a bookmobile to take into rural communities. Library systems from across the country attempted to copy the success of Chattanooga's system, and national publications wrote about the strong work of the Chattanooga Public Library. The colored library in the basement was closed and moved as a branch of the library to the 11th Street Colored School. Other branches in rural areas were open as well, but could these libraries be separate and equal? Library reports offer some insight. In 1915, 2,417 new books were added to the main library, while only 17 were added to the colored library. In 1916, 1,951 new books were added to the 6 white library branches, while 39 new books were added to the colored branches. According to an article in the April 20th, 1921 edition of the Chattanooga Times, the library progress being made throughout the city and county was gratifying, but still the problems of the colored people was not adequately solved. The system grew though, and yearly reports commented on the growing number of branch libraries and increased services, until library administrators noted in 1923 that the business of the small colored branches justifies the existence of a separate branch library for colored people. In 1925, the library received $80,000 funding from the Julius Rosenwald Fund. Established by the president of Sears Roebuck and Company, donations from the fund focused on assisting in the establishment of rural schools with an emphasis on assisting in predominantly black areas. In Chattanooga, The fund supported the library's work within rural libraries. Chattanooga's library leaders did strive to offer library access to all citizens, but did they or could they make it truly equal? A report in the Chattanooga Times on March 20th, 1941 notes that the public library serves both white and Negro patrons of the city and county through a system of 54 branch libraries and book truck service to 51 elementary schools. 19 permanent branch libraries are located in city schools and 35 in the county schools. Reports continued to state the need for improved services for blacks, and finally, in 1948, there was a call for a Negro library or a full library for coloreds. No longer is a small branch enough. A study committee found that it is not possible for the library board to construct, out of its budget, a branch for Negroes that would be adequate to meet the needs. It is considered probable, furthermore, that the discrepancy in service is contrary to the legal rights of the minority group. Therefore, on May 3, 1949, the Chattanooga Public Library opened its doors to all white citizens and all Negro adults over high school age. The following year, a local paper reported in the fall of 1950 that the library was inviting classes of Negro children to visit the main library during Book Week. The following year, the Chattanooga Public Library began allowing all citizens to register for library cards regardless of race.